if you were not here yesterday and did not get one of the books off the back pew, would you raise your hand, please? And some of the young men are going to come around and bring you those. You'll need those books, so just keep your hand up and they'll bring those around to you. We appreciate all of you being here this morning. We're excited to be here. My wife Jamie and I were from the thriving metropolis of Coweta, Oklahoma, all 10,000 of us. And we're excited to be here this morning and spend this time with you. We got to meet several of you yesterday, and so we'll get those books passed out and then we'll get going. While we're doing that, if you weren't here yesterday, if you'll take your phone and hold it up and on that QR code on the screen right there, don't take a picture of it, but just focus your camera on that QR code. A little yellow bar will pop up. If you'll click that yellow bar, you can input your name and your email address. Part of the School of Evangelism, we're going to send you an email every Wednesday called Reaching the Lost, and it's going to be success stories from congregations that are enrolled around the country. We want you to be able to get those so you can be motivated, you can see what's going on. Other people are also going to get to read the success stories from this congregation. It goes out to about 20,000 members of the church around the country, so be sure and sign up for that using that QR code. Also, every Friday, we're going to send you a training video. They're very important training videos, 1 to 5 minutes long. What we're doing here today and yesterday is the foundational training, but the operational training you're going to continue to do from now until you leave this life. And so we're always going to continue to learn and to grow in our evangelism efforts. We're going to send those to you via email, so make sure you get signed up for that so that we can send those emails. Also, if you would go to YouTube when you have a chance, look up House to House School of Evangelism and subscribe. We have almost 170 videos on there. New video goes on every week. Again, they're 1 to 5 minutes long. They're training videos that are going to help you to be very, very effective in your evangelism efforts. Matthew chapter 28, verses 18 through 20 is what we call the Great Commission. We'll look at it more a little bit later on, but it's a commission that's been given to every single one of us. I mentioned yesterday that the greatest challenge to evangelism is not our culture, it's not our government, it's not immorality, it's not the sinful world that we live in, but it's the membership sitting in the pews. Most members don't believe they can evangelize, and we're here to teach you how to evangelize, because you will stand before your Lord on the day of judgment and be accountable for that. So we want to make sure that you know how you can evangelize. You don't have to be a teacher, but as we learned yesterday, there's a spot for everybody to plug into evangelism. So if you would scan that and get signed up. Quick introduction about myself. I'm the minister, was the minister, full-time minister at Coweta, Oklahoma. I've stepped back to a part-time role as I've come on full-time with the House to House School of Evangelism. I'm one of the elders there at Coweta, and my wife and I, we travel around the country with Brother Rob Whitaker and Nicole Whitaker, his wife, and we go to different congregations around the country and we train how to evangelize. A lot of you were here in 2019 and met Rob and Nicole when they came here the first time. The school has evolved greatly since then, and so we want to bring you all the new and the latest and the greatest techniques and information that we have so that you can be very effective in your evangelism. So that's what we're going to do this week as we go throughout today and yesterday. So we finish up today. We'll have this lesson. We'll have the Sunday morning lesson. We'll break for a meal, and then we'll come back. And when we come back for the after lunch session, there'll be 2 sessions. The men will meet in here. Originally, we'll all come in here. After about 5 minutes, we'll split up. The men will stay in here. The ladies will go to the fellowship hall, and my wife's going to teach the ladies 10 ways that you can be involved in evangelism. Women have a huge, huge role in evangelism. I could not do what I do if it were not for my wife. We have a lot of Bible studies. We baptize a lot of people. I couldn't do that without her. As my silent partner, as she cooks meals, we always eat before the Bible studies. And so, ladies, you have a tremendous role in evangelism, and she'll visit with you about how you can accomplish that role. Okay, let's get going. So our first lesson this morning is, let's introduce the method. If we're going to evangelize, we've got to have a method. We can't just wing it. For too many years, we've done what I call front porch evangelism, where we sit on the front porch with somebody, or we sit in the living room with somebody, and we go right to Acts chapter 2 and to Acts chapter 8 and Acts chapter 22, and we go to Colossians chapter 2 and Romans chapter 6 and 1 Peter chapter 3, and we hit all these points on baptism, and we never build a foundation. We're trying to help people build a roof and build walls before we ever lay a foundation. And as a result, 80% of all new converts drop out, fall away from the church within the first 3 years. We've got to have a method from how we're going to get to point A to point Z, how we first introduce somebody to the Bible and take them all the way to the waters of baptism, and then continue to teach them so that they stay in the church. Matthew chapter 28, verse 19, Jesus said, "Go ye therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, and teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I've commanded you." So we have teach, make disciples of all nations, teach, baptize, teach. For a long time in the church we've taught, we've baptized, and we've thrown them to the wolves. And they don't last, they fall out. So we've got to have a method from the very beginning to the retention level, how we're going to bring people to Christ and how we're going to keep them. How we're going to lock that back door so that they don't go any further. I shared some devastating numbers with you yesterday. One of the numbers, for those of you who weren't here, one of the things we were looking at is the ratio of Christians to citizens of the United States. When I say Christians, I'm not talking about people that identify as Christians. I'm talking about members of the churches of Christ. And we saw that in 1906, that was 1 out of every 595 citizens of the United States was a member of the church. By 1953, we had brought that all the way down to 1 out of every 84 members. So if you're walking around the Charlotte area and you pass 84 people, one of them is going to be a member of the Church of Christ. 1 out of every 84 citizens of the United States. Stayed that way. Stayed that way all the way up until the 70s. I think actually from 1967 to 1973. That was the case. It happened because we evangelized. I shared with you yesterday that the American College Dictionary, 1953, if you went and looked under the word Christian, there were 12 definitions. The fourth one said a Campbellite, members of the churches of Christ. A Campbellite, all I could do is make fun of you because you are the fastest growing religious body in the United States of America. There has never been another religious body that has been named in a dictionary under the word Christian. Churches of Christ are the only one. But we're not there anymore. We're back to 1 out of every 295 citizens of the United States being a member of church, and that was in 2021. When the new numbers come out next year, I fear it'll be well over 1 in 300. We've got to do something different. I want to share with you some more numbers. The Pew Research Center did this projection. It's the congregational decline, and they found that in 2016 that we had just a hair over 12,000 churches of Christ in the United States of America. In 2019, that number had fallen down to about 11,000. 2022, that fell down to just a hair over 10,000. 2025, they said we had about 9,500 churches of Christ in the United States. It used to be much greater than that just a few decades ago. The scary part is they were exactly right, because that's exactly where we are. We've got about 9,500 churches of Christ in the United States today. The way they come up with these numbers, statisticians, they take the variables, they plug them into a formula, and based upon predictability, they can figure out exactly where we're going to be at any given time in the future, if we're predictable. And we've been very predictable for the last 50 years. It's been very easy. They've been spot on with everything they've come out with. I want you to look at 2049. If we continue on the same trajectory, by 2049, we'll have right at or a little bit less than 3,000 churches of Christ left in the United States. Their prediction goes out to 2069. They predict we'll have less than a dozen churches of Christ in the United States. If we continue the way we're going, that's our future. Let me show you another one.